Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here tonight with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey David, how you doing?
Well, I had fun tonight.
Good.
I was involved in a kind of a kids adults game that
Oh yeah.
my wife organized for a bunch of people, and it was fantastic. It was so much fun. And best of all, Bruce, I missed the I missed the Oilers. I only have one moment of suffering when I called up the scoring chance data and looked at it, and
Mhm.
then went through the video of the scoring chances. So I didn't suffer that much like most Oiler fans suffered in that game. For me, it was like just one horrible, hideous moment, especially when I saw that they had let in a goal. What was it, 11 seconds into the game? So as soon as I I couldn't believe it because Tippett before the game it said my biggest worry is it's going to be a sloppy game, and teams have been off 3 days, and that this is clearly on his mind. And what happens? So this is our two good things, two bad things, two numbers podcast. So we're going to start with our bad thing. I'm going to just throw my bad thing right off because it's the first thing that went bad. What happens is Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is just like, I know he is now being literally set on fire on Twitter right now. Like there's little pictures of Nugent-Hopkins that are just smoldering and in flames all over the internet because of that play. But what can you say about it? It was just a terrible mistake early in a game. He goes in the corner, he whiffs on the puck, he loses the puck gets put to the slot, and they score. That's a 5 bell chance, and you're going to drain that shot. What, half the time, maybe that kind of pass out to the slot, 40% of the time. Nuge's got to do better than that. I mean, this is his ninth, 10th season in the NHL.
Right.
He's thinking, okay, my first shift, I just gotta, I'm just gonna play it. He just could have put that puck over it. I think it was Clefbaum in the other corner. He was wide open, just had to put the puck over, and he whiffed on it, and then he got bumped off it. And the Flames have a little, a fast player. Like they have their version of Kairi Yamamoto is on the team, right? Or Tyler Benson. He's actually made their team, Mangiapane, and he's helping them out. We don't have that player right now, which is another frustration.
Yep.
It's a different kind of bad thing. But so my bad thing was Nuge's play on that first goal against, because Bruce, that's just brutal to get behind 11 seconds into the game. So what's your bad thing?
Yeah, well that's part of it. I mean, get behind, stay behind. I mean, they trailed for 59 minutes and 49 seconds tonight. And really their inability to mount any sort of a comeback. They kind of got the one goal out of the blue on their only scoring chance of the first period by my count. On a good deflection, but it sort of came out of nowhere. Uh, but they came out for the start of each period with I don't know. It seemed like they were in a coma. David, 11 seconds, 68 seconds, 57 seconds. Each period, the very first shot wound up in the net, and one of those was on the goalie probably, uh, but one of them was on the Nugent Hopkins play that you detailed that was exacerbated by what I saw as a poor play by Adam Larson. And then the shorthanded goal to start. I mean, you start the third period with almost a full 2 minutes on the power play, and what do? Give up a shorty, and then you
It's
know,
like they had turkey leftovers, a turkey coma at the start of
yeah,
every period.
yeah.
Like what what
Yeah.
is going on?
Well, their power play. They had two power plays tonight, and they had three shots, and Calgary had three shots. But by scoring chances, it was one chance for Edmonton and three for Calgary on Edmonton's power play, and they just didn't have it going on. They had Um, Dave Tippett called him out in the post game. Said he was worried from the morning skate. He said they came out in a cavalier fashion and they basically never got their crap together at any point during the morning skate. He was worried it would carry over to the game. And 11 seconds into the first period, his fears were realized, and it just basically got worse from there. Just a real. And I mean, all three periods, and such a stinker for the home fans. Yet again, I don't understand why this team can't play a decent game of hockey in their own barn.
Do they do these guys like just does Nuge and McDavid and Draisaitl, not McDavid because he's been fine, but do these guys want to make the playoffs? Adam Larson, Oscar Klefbom, like, because if they want to make the playoffs, they got to stop making those horrible mistakes leading to 5 bill chances in the slot. Like, you just got to cut that out, and instead of like having won a game at least where you're right in the middle of it, you're right at fault because of often. No, Nugent, it's kind of it's a tough one because it's like he misses the puck, right? Like his stick goes over the puck when he's trying to chip it, but that can't happen. And that's what you're left wondering in the end is you questioning, like, do they want? And of course they want it, but how much have they had that moment where they're going to say nothing's going to stop me from getting there, and I'm going to do everything possible, especially in the defensive zone where we have such trouble right now, to make sure that never happens when I'm on the ice. It's just going to be a fanatical devotion to stopping those kind of scoring chances where I'm in the middle of it, where I should be stopping that, and I don't. Because Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is perfectly capable of stopping that kind of scoring chances, as is Leon Draisaitl, as is Connor McDavid, as is Larson, Darnell Nurse, Ethan Bear, Oscar Klefbom. Their best players, Bruce, were not there. They were their other than McDavid, they were their worst players.
I don't give McDavid the carte blanche you do. I mean, tonight, yeah, sure. Yeah. But overall, he's been lax defensively on more than a few goals this year, and he's the defensive performance of their top players has been in the crapper for a while, and it's costing them goals and it's costing them games.
I have a theory about how to change that, Bruce. We're going to talk about it right at the end of the podcast because it's based on the
I'm ready
Scotty
for
Bowman
any theory at this point.
All right, I've been working on a theory, and it's based on the Scotty Bowman book that you got from your wife
I got for Christmas, actually for my anniversary on Boxing Day.
Okay, so we did the bad things. So my good thing, I don't really have a lot of good things, but I did like the way, and I know Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is getting torched, but I also know him to be, like, you can just see he's a thoughtful and conscientious person. He's just probably really upset. He did, to give him credit on that, and maybe you're not going to agree here, but on that penalty, the fifth goal from the Flames, Backlund's goal, I believe it was, where he streaks up the ice. Is that who it was?
Yeah.
To score. Nuge really did get on his horse and try to. He was skating as hard as he could to chase that guy down. So I'm going to give him credit for that. He gave it his all. Now they're supposed to give it their all, but they, sometimes they coast, and I didn't see any coasting there. And I
saw it as a late read. I mean, once he did get on his horse, he stayed on it.
It was a tough,
but it was a
microsecond late. I don't know if it was late even. It was just like they both start. I think if you look at the tape, they both start going at the same time. In terms of, but the guy just had a step on him from the start. Backlund had a step on Nuge from the start, and he could never catch him. But they were just both going and trying to make that play. So I like that kind of hustle from players, and it's we've seen that a lot from Nugent-Hopkins. So let's see more of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I heard Nuge in the post game, and he did take ownership of the first goal against, but he did not, frankly, sound that upset to me, and I was kind of hoping for a little more anger in the Oilers dressing room, and a little more. I mean, somewhere in there, someone's got to grab the bull by the horns and rally this team. I mean, I remember 3 years ago, they started off the season 2-0. They lost their third game, and new captain Connor McDavid, still a teenager, canceled the team's mandatory day off to have a practice to turn things around right away. And I'm wondering, where is that now? Who on this team is saying this is not acceptable? We have to rally together and do better. And I'm just not seeing a team that's got all their oars in the water. Anyway,
maybe it'll be Riley Sheehan.
This is my good thing. This is time for my good thing, right? That wasn't it.
Okay, what is it?
I'm going to go with Patrick Russell, fourth line player who's hanging on for dear life for an NHL job, but playing every game like he likes being in the NHL and actually wants to stay in the league. And tonight he played 13 and a half minutes on the bottom six, and he led the team in shots with 5. He led the team in hits with 4, and he made hard charge to the net that created 2 good scoring chances. And he was sort of positively involved in the game, and you can say that about precious few Edmonton Oilers in this game.
Yeah. The Oilers were outchanced on grade A chances 6-11. The Flames also scored on 2 grade B chances, which were actually pretty good grade B chances. Like they were borderline A. They were both fairly tough shots. You could say that Russell screened Koskinen on the one of them, maybe,
Yep.
and you could
Maybe ticked off.
and the other one was kind of the guy was moving fast across the center of the ice, the railroad himself, and got off a very quick and dangerous shot. So this one wasn't on Koskinen. He didn't play great. He didn't save his team in it, but he wasn't the worst player on the Oilers. There's lots of competition for that tonight.
Yep.
So let's move on to numbers. My number, Bruce, is there's been so much made of this stat in the last little while. Anywhere you go on the Oilers Twitter, people are talking about it. But it's just because it clobbers you over the head.
Yeah.
It absolutely clobbers you over the head. And of course, we're referring to Leon Draisaitl's plus minus. He's now 16 games in a row where he has not had a positive goal differential. It's Leon Draisaitl. And in 15 of the 16 games, he's had a -1. In the last 7 games, he's minus 15 in the last 7 games. And I think you were saying in the last 4, he's -11. So it's just
getting worse and worse. It seems impossible. Like I was seeing him impossible before, but I've never seen the like, David. I can't think of a situation that's analogous to what's happened to this guy.
He wasn't a culprit tonight on the goals against. They weren't his fault, but he's not outscoring either. Like he's not coming close to outscoring. So this is going to be I'm going to address this in my theory on how to change things up a little bit. But what is your number?
Well, it's kind of related. My number is the net combined -15 of the top six forwards for the Oilers in this game, meaning that all 6 of them were 3 of them were out on the ice for all 5 Calgary goals. And in fact, on the shorthanded goal, a 4th one was on the ice. And the only plus for Edmonton, McDavid got a plus, but he was playing with a couple of scrubs on his line, and they scored. And the guys that are supposed to be winning the game the theory for this team, I thought, was for the bottom 6 to hold their own and for the top 6 and especially the top 3 to win games for them. Well, tonight the bottom 6 held their own, 0-0. The top 6 got pounded, 5-1. So I mean, no bottom 6 is going to be able to climb a hill like that. I mean, there's no chance.
Yeah, this has been the story all too often. If it hasn't been goaltending, it's been their top players not holding up their end of it. And for this Oilers team, there's just no way they're going to win. Now, they're below real 500 for the first time this year, 20 wins, 21 losses. And that's not a good sign. They've got to claw their way back now.
Well, I mean, here's another number it's one that I've mentioned before, but it keeps growing. The last 10 home games, 2 wins, 6 regulation losses, and every one of them has been by 3+ goals. So they've been pounded on their home ice in 6 of the last 10, lost 2 in overtime, and scraped out 2 1-goal wins. And it's
okay. So let's move
on.
Talk
about the long-suffering fans. But when when the team particularly struggles on home ice, that's a bitter pill for people that are paying the freight.
I was thinking that tonight's game was kind of it's not their last game of the year, is it? They have one more, but I was thinking that would have been a fitting exclamation mark on the actual decade of darkness. So, man, the 2020s can't come quickly enough for these Oilers, and let's hope it's a much better 10 years than what we just witnessed, because that was really hard. Okay, so here's my theory, Bruce. Okay. I'm going to write a blog post about this. So Scotty Bowman is I think recognized as the best coach in NHL history. And Ken Dryden has written a book on him where Bowman goes through the best teams in NHL history, the top 8 teams. The 1983-84 Oilers are one of them, and Scotty holds them in very high regard, although not so much Paul Coffey, I would say. In any case, Scotty Bowman talks about a couple things. One thing about how to coach a team and another thing about an NHL trend that I think apply to these Oilers. So first of all, the theme of his own coaching was coach the players you have. So whatever kind of team that you have, mold your strategy to that team. So for example, when he had the 5 Russian stars with the Detroit Red Wings, he would play them all together at various times because he had those 5 guys, and it made sense to use them that way and to let them play their Soviet style of hockey. So
Mm-hmm.
that would be one example of that.
A lot of coaches wouldn't have done that.
The other thing you're right. And a lot of coaches wouldn't have done what Glenn Sather did with the Oilers in the early
Absolutely,
1980s.
100%.
They would have wrecked that team. They would have wrecked it. And Glenn Sather didn't. And that made me think about this current team, about coaching the players you have. And we're going to get back to that. The second thing he talked about, Bowman said, since they started to call more penalties after 2005-06, after the big Shanahan convention where they cracked down on obstruction for a while, he said there was a tactical change.
Season, yeah.
Well, he said there was a tactical change in the NHL game in that and they increased the size of the offense. When did they increase the size of the offensive zone?
Right around that same time, I think the Shanahan Summit was involved in that as well. Also, the 2-line pass. There was a few things that were designed to open it up.
So he said what you saw is because it became so hard to handle the top offensive players down low on the zone, the forwards started to collapse around the net. So all 5 players would be collapsed around the net, and then when the puck would go back to the point for a shot, when the offensive team would put it back to the point, the forwards then were charged with rushing out to the point to block the shot. And this is clearly how the Oilers play hockey right now and have played for forever, as far as I can say, is that they're all 5 down low, and then the idea is that it goes back to the point and you're supposed to charge out there and block that shot. So Bowman was questioning, why would you have, if you have an offensive superstars in your team, why would you have them blocking shots? Do you really want them blocking shots? And he theorized, if you had a player like Gretzky or Lemieux, they like to play high in the defensive zone. You keep them high. And he thought, why don't you try that? Why don't some of these teams try something different with these offensive players? And this got me thinking about McDavid and Draisaitl, who seem unable to play down low right now. And I don't know what it is, but I'm just thinking, why don't they coach the players that they have? Why don't they try something different with these 2 players? The one thing you know about Connor McDavid is there's no one-on-one defenseman who can handle this player right now. Yeah. One-on-one, he will go around them. One-on-two, he will go around them. Leon Draisaitl's close to that. So you have the best offensive player and someone else who you should be dying. Your whole strategy should be getting Connor McDavid one-on-one with the defenseman. So I'm thinking, why do we have McDavid and Draisaitl playing the center position down low ever right now? Put them out there with a defensive center, maybe Riley Sheahan. Put them out there with a defensive center, someone who can handle that slot play. And your 2 best puck-moving defensemen, probably Ethan Bear and Oscar Klefbom, who can throw that long bomb pass and who can also defend. Throw those players out there with McDavid and Draisaitl. Don't have those guys playing low. Have them playing high right on those defensemen. So when the defensemen get the puck back, they don't have to block the shot. Like, you can't pass to them because McDavid and Draisaitl will be covering them anyway. But as soon as the Oilers turn over the puck, and it would put a lot of pressure on Bear, Klefbom, and Sheahan down low. They'd be you'd have a 3-on-3 game essentially down low. A lot of pressure. But when you win the puck, Bruce, every time you win the puck and clear the puck, you have a race for the puck with Connor McDavid and a defenseman who's just tearing his hair out. He's so afraid. And you have Leon Draisaitl smoking in there to score goals. So you coach the players you have. You don't ask those guys to do something, because we're all thinking, like Draisaitl should be the Selke Award winner. He should be playing down low. He should be playing center. And I've been thinking this too, but it ain't working. This isn't going to work this year, I don't think. So this year, try a different strategy. Put out a defensive center with those guys who can cover the slot, put out 2 passing defensemen, and have those guys flying up the ice at every opportunity and harassing those defensemen at the point to steal pucks from them and creating havoc that way. So that's my blog post that I'm going to write.
Well, I'll give you a couple of names from the past, the guys who used to play like that. Wayne Gretzky being one of them. who played high in the zone, and his and he wasn't a terrible defensive player, as some purport, but he was often a in absentia from certain areas of the ice. But what he was exceptionally great at was stealing the puck off the other guys,
Stripping it.
and coming in from their blind side, lifting their stick. He'd take the puck and he would be gone. It'd be one swoop move, and the end of the move had him going the other way, already 10 feet away from the guy who took the puck off, and the gap widening. And uh, I used to joke about how all the defensemen on the opposing teams of the Oilers, they came in and they were all wearing different colored sweaters on their various teams, but they all seemed to have brown pants. And it was just because of the threat of Gretzky, and the penny drops. uh, and the other guy I'm going to say that played that style, who was a winger, not a center, Pavel Bure, and he would play. He would really cheat for offense. I used to joke that the blades of his skates were red from hanging around on the center red line back in the days when the two-line pass rule was still in effect. But man, oh man, it could be 4-on-4 in the Florida or Vancouver zone, whatever team that he was on at the time. And that team wins one puck battle and dumps it out. And now you've got a one-on-one with the most electrifying player in the game going against some poor schlub who's in over his head. And it worked out pretty good in his career. And again, he was a defensive player in absentia often, and it cost his team some goals, but it also gained them some. And it was a different style that you do not see in the parity salary cap era. But as you say, what they're doing right now does not seem to be working, and
What do they
there's
have to
no
lose?
obvious breakthrough in sight, is there?
No, I mean you could double down and say, okay, you're gonna recommit yourself, Leon and Connor, to covering the defensive slot, and you're gonna, either one of you are gonna do it, or like you're gonna take turns, or however they're gonna do what they've been doing for the last year, frankly, without
Mhm.
any success at all. They've been leaking goals against for a year now, at an extraordinary rate at even strength. So you could keep trying that. I
Mhm.
just think maybe try something else. Maybe do something else. And Bruce, I have an even more radical
Okay,
aspect to this theory, but I'm
fire
not going to
away.
tell. I'm not telling
Oh,
it. I'm gonna write it in the blog. I got to give people a
okay,
reason to read the blog post. I'm going to save
right.
that for the
Okay.
blog post. But there's one more wrinkle in this scheme that I have. But what do I think the chances Dave Tippett's going to do this? I think like zero. I
Right.
just don't think NHL coaches do this kind of risk taking. But it's interesting to me that Bowman was suggesting it actually. He was watching the modern NHL game. This is him now. This is the last chapter of the book where he's
Mm-hmm.
watching this NHL game now, and he's thinking, why don't they develop a different strategy for your top line? Like why does every line have to play the same? Why do they all have to do the same thing? Why couldn't you have these players that he talks about playing high? Why can't you have these players playing high? Why couldn't you do that? And it just like suddenly I thought, like, why not? So I don't think they're going to do it, but that's my that's my theory of the day.
Well, food for thought, at least. Like I say, what they're doing now is clearly not. Um, it's not working. And this is third December in a row. 2 years ago, the Oilers had a nice winning streak before Christmas, but they came back after the Christmas break and they put up some turkeys of games, kind of like tonight's. And they lost seven of their first eight after the Christmas break and fell out of the race under coach Todd McClellan. Last year, straddling the Christmas break between the 18th and the 31st, they had a home 5-game homestand during which they garnered 0 standings points and fell out of the race with 5 straight regulation losses under then head coach Ken Hitchcock. And now they have struggled all month of December, and again, especially on their home ice under now head coach Dave Tippett. I mean, these are three extremely experienced NHL head coaches that have something like 1,872 wins among them in their resume, and probably over 2,000 by the time you factor in playoffs. And yet, the Edmonton Oilers seem to be the mountain they can't climb. And what is it? What you may be right. They need a new theory. Maybe they need a young, uh, ideas-laden coach. Mind you, the last time we said that, we wound up with Draisaitl. That didn't end up so well either now, did it?
It did
So
not.
I don't
Ralph
know.
Kruger. Ralph
Hide
Kruger.
your hide your hands. Hide your head in your hands.
Alrighty. So you're still writing the game grades? You
Yeah,
got
I'm
the game grades going?
just about done.
All right. Well, I'll let you get at that, Bruce, and we'll talk again soon. Next game.
I did get the Bowman book for Christmas, so I'm just about to dip into it, and I may have to jump ahead of that Oilers chapter just because I'm not that disciplined of a reader, and just see what he has to say about my boys. But it's it's going to be a good read. I have huge respect for Scotty Bowman. He wasn't
I
necessarily the greatest human being, but he was a wonderful hockey coach.
You're going to be happy with what he says about the Oilers, and I think he gives them a real fair shake.
Hmm.
I do think he has a bit of a bee in his bonnet about Paul Coffey, that he doesn't quite give him.
Tried to trade for Paul Coffey in 1981, though.
Yes, he did. Yeah, he's not unfair to any player, but he's not as fair to Coffey as he is to some of the others.
I'll see what he has to say about that, but I'm looking forward to reading the book, and I'm sure there's
Okay.
lots of nuggets in there.
And Paul Coffey, of course, is no fan of Scotty Bowman. So,
Yeah,
all right. All right. Thanks for talking tonight, Bruce.
All right, thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.